Welcome back, McFly subscribers. Today we're going to be tying this rabbit fur leech. Now I call it a rabbit fur fry since I like tying it in white to mimic little baitfish fry. Now I will discuss this fly and its uses later in the video, as I'm sure you want to get started tying right away, but in case you haven't seen this channel before, this is McFly Angler.
Starts now.
Okay, let's get started tying. Place a hook securely in your vise. For a hook, I'm using Risen's Barbless Nymph 9231 in size 12. Now you might ask, why a nymph hook for the streamer? And I do have my reasons, which I will discuss why in detail down in the description section. But whatever hook you use, make sure it's not overly long or short, and this one has a down eye. We will also need some thread, and I like this Vivis 6/0, and today I'm using white. Start your thread about an eye length back from the hook eye and then snip or snap off the waist. Then bring your thread down to the start of the hook bend. Now we need some rabbit strips, and today I'm tying this in white. But these come in a wide range of colors, so tie them in whatever color you want. Alright, I'm going to take away this white background so you can see better. For the tail, let's separate out about a 1/4 inch section of the fur from the hide, and make sure that the tips are aligned. Then grasp the tips firmly and rip them off the hide. Now I like to measure out a little longer than a hook shank length, and then transfer that measurement to your other hand, and tie this in with a pinch wrap. Then make touching wraps up the hook shank, trying to keep all the fibers under the wraps. Now there's really fine fur, so this can be a little bit difficult to do. And I find it easier if you wet both the tail and the tag ends. Okay, tie this up the hook shank to cover all the tag ends of fiber, and then bring your thread back down to about the hook point mark. Now we need to make a dubbing loop, so wind your thread around your finger and double back onto the hook, and then tie this loop down to the start of the tail. Grab a dubbing twister and place it on the end of the loop. Then I like to hang one end on this little knob so it doesn't spin up on me. Okay, let me show you this a little bit closer so you can see what's happening here. So we want to close that loop so the two sides aren't spread out. Once the loop is tied down, then bring your thread up to the hook eye. Okay, now we need some fur. There are a few ways to get this prepared to put in the loop. Stroke out about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of fur, so it's sticking out from the hide like so. Now I've got a couple different tools that can be used for this, and the first tool is this special clip. So you're going to grasp the fur like so with the clip, and then make sure that the tips are straight, and you can adjust by pulling on the hide. Now with this tool, it makes it easy to show how long the fibers will be, and I like them to extend back to just shy of the tail, like so. When you're happy with the fur length, then cut it off the hide, and you're left with this even bunch to place in the dubbing loop. These cost a pretty penny though, but they work really great. If you don't have this tool, and don't want to spend the money for one, you can always use a chip clip in the same way, but of course you cannot see the tips, so it's harder to measure. Okay, one more option are these petagene clips. They have a base to hold the rabbit strips, which makes it really easy. These are clear so you can see the tips easily through the clip, and the base makes it easier to keep that hide straight. These do cost quite a bit as well, but they are really awesome tools to have. I will actually use this in a different version of this fly later in the video. Okay, whatever option you use, place this clump in your dubbing loop as close to the shank as you can. Then make sure that the end closest to you doesn't have too much butt ends of fiber sticking out past the loop, as it will create a weird bulky looking head. Now twist the dubbing twister while pinching the loop. Then you can let go of the loop and it will spin up the fur, creating a dubbing brush. Twist this up 2 to 3 times to make sure that the fibers are held in tight. Now brush out the brush with a stiff bristle toothbrush to make sure all the fibers are sticking out straight. Stroke back the fibers and start winding this dubbing brush up the hook shank. Pull back the fibers with each wrap to ensure that they are angling rearward. Make sure that you end with at least one wrap behind the hook eye. To capture the brush, take your main thread and wrap it around the back of the loop and then up and around the hook, right behind the eye. Then pull the wire rearward and stroke back the fibers up by the eye as well. Then make wraps back up on top of the rabbit fibers to keep them out of the hook eye. Clip off the loop thread. Now you can wet the fiber to help keep it angled back and more manageable. Then make more wraps to build up a small head and lay down the trap fibers. Then wet finish your fly. To cement the head, I really like the Solarez Ultra Thin Resin. It comes with a handy paintbrush in the cap for easy application. Just paint a little on the head of the fly and cure it with your UV light, which will make this fly super durable. While not necessary, it's a good idea to pick out any trap fibers with your bodkin and brush the fiber out with a toothbrush, both forward and rearward, to make sure no fibers are trapped. Okay, this looks really good, and will look even better when it dries. So there we go, the finished rabbit fry. A really simple and quick, yet extremely effective fly. I started fishing these white ones when the San Juan River would stock fingerling trout. The large brown trout would come out of the depths to feed on these small 2-inch baby trout, and it was a great opportunity to catch some 20-inch plus browns. Now this is just a base pattern, as you can spruce this up any way you see fit. Now I'm going to tie up a couple variations of this for you to give you guys some ideas. Okay, the first variation is going to be with a bead, as an egg-sucking leech style. Everything will be exactly the same, with only two differences. Of course, we will need a bead, and for this size hook, the same that we just used, these risen brass beads in fire orange and 3.2mm will work great. Best way to put a bead on a hook is to place the bead in your hand and bring the hook point to it. Okay, I'm going to speed through most of this until we get to one difference. I have the camera set back a bit for you all so you can see what I'm doing with my hands. Here I'm going to use the Pettigene clips. You can see how easy it is to get the fibers angling the right way. And these clips also allow you to make compound dubbing loops and add other materials like this diamond bright dubbing for a little flash. Place the dubbing right in front of the fur, and then clip the fur and dubbing. Slide it out of the base, and then cut off the hide. Place this in your dubbing twister, and proceed to finish the fly the same way as the previous fly. And I figure this wider angle will help you see how this loop works, and how it's twisted up. If you have a rotary vise, you can stroke all the fibers back and then use the rotary feature to wind this onto your hook. Now I find it does make it a little bit faster, but I don't have as much control, so it's up to you. Plus, I always feel that I need to stroke the fibers back with the last wrap right up behind that bead. Anyway, when you reach the bead, capture the loop and finish the fly. Okay, so that's one way to add some weight to the fly, which will give it a jigging type motion since the weight of the bead is right in front. The bright bead also acts as an attractor to catch the fish's attention, and that little bit of flashy dubbing really gives a nice shimmer as well. Okay, I'm going to tie one more version for you with some eyes, and I'm going to show you a different way to add some weight. Here I have some .015 size lead wire, or you can use some lead-free wire if you want. I find putting it on a bobbin holder really helps with applying the wire. Okay, I'm going to make 10 wraps with the wire on the bare hook. Make more or less according to your needs. Push the wire together and then scoot it up so it's slightly forward on the hook shank. Now start your thread and continue tying the fly the same way as the previous two flies. However, I want to add some flash in the tail, and another way to do this is pull a single strand of crystal flash from the hank and fold it in half. Tie the flash in so it extends back about as long as the tail and on the side of the fly. Then wrap the tag end around on the other side of the fly and tie that down. Then clip off the extra flash so it's even with the other side. Now continue tying the fly the same way. But when winding on, there's some people that actually do not stroke the fibers back with each wrap. They just use the rotary feature to speed everything up. This will trap a lot of fiber though, but it is much faster. Now many guides tie their flies this way, and that's because they have to tie up a couple dozen every single day for their clients to use, and they know many are going to be lost. So they don't want to spend the time to make the fly look perfect, just make sure that they catch fish. So this is an option for you all if you want. Okay, once you have the fly done, same way as the first fly, we can now add eyes if you want. And for that, I'm going to use these fish skull living eyes in 3mm. I use super glue to attach them. Place a dot of super glue on your bodkin and then brush that on the side of the head. Then place the eye on, trying to position it so it's back slightly from the hook eye, and not too high or low on the shank. Then turn the fly around and glue on the other eye. But this one needs to be aligned properly with the previous eye, and the second eye is usually harder because of needing to align. Now, this glue isn't going to hold those eyes on too long, so I like to add one more step to ensure the eyes stay put. So turn the fly so the head is angling up, and then get some of the Solarez thin formula with the precision tip. And by the way, they don't sell the metal tips anymore, but they do have some really nice plastic precision tips that you can get, which work great. Place a dot of this resin between the eyes so it's bumping up between those eyes like so. then cure it with your UV light. Turn the fly around and angle it the other way, and then place a dot between the eyes on the underside and cure that in as well. This will fill in the negative space between the eyes and help glue in those eyes. And no fish teeth will be able to get under them and rip them off. So there we go, another variation of this fly. Now the variations are truly endless. You can use dumbbell eyes, beads, cones, you can make it non-weighted, you can even tie with or without flash, or in different colors. I think the obvious color would be black to mimic a leech, which is probably the most popular for this pattern. But you can tie it in two-tone as well, like this electric chicken color. However, I really like the simple white, as it truly does mimic a little baitfish in the water. Like I said, this exact pattern worked wonders for me when the trout were targeting small fingerling or minnows. Now, if you haven't ever tied a fly with a dubbing loop before, this might seem difficult. However, once you get the hang of this, you can whip up a couple dozen of these flies in an hour, making it one of the fastest and easiest small baitfish to tie. In fact, the fly shop I worked for on the San Juan River used to have me tie these up on my downtime. It was a super popular pattern and was easy and quick to tie, and that fly shop could sell them extremely inexpensive. Now it is rather versatile, being able to be tied in many different ways. And once you master tying the base, then branch out and give other variations a try. And you can fill up a box in no time. Well, I've just started filling up this box with this month's series of small streamer flies. I figured this would be a fly to start the series out with. Many of you already know, I am doing a different series of fly types every month. Last month I tied mayfly dries like the Adams, and I will link to that series at the end of this video. And of course, next week I will continue the small streamer series with this very popular woolly bugger, probably the most popular small streamer ever made. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos like this woolly bugger. Oh, and by the way, I do sell these silicone fly boxes with free shipping on Amazon. They're thin enough to fit in most shirt pockets, or fit multiple in a chest pack and organized by fly type, like this small streamer box. Also, the silicone backing has pre-made slots, but is also self-healing. So if you do happen to nick it with your hook, it won't get all beat up looking like those foam insert boxes. Now these are extremely popular, and I sell out regularly. And I send as many as I can to Amazon, but within a couple days they're gone. So if they're in stock, make sure you get them, as they don't stick around for long. I will link to my Amazon storefront below in the description section of this video if you're interested. Also, don't forget to check out my sponsor Risen Fly. They made the hooks I use today, but they also make some of the best fly rods and reels for the money I have ever used. Best off, they're offering you all a discount. So if you're in the market for a new rod or a bunch of hooks or beads, go to www.risenfly.com and type in McFly at checkout, and they'll give you 15% off of your first order with them. Alright, well thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click the like button. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.